Dukkha Dharmanasyangame Jayatva Swasa Prashvasa Vikshepa Swaha Bhuvaha. From these distractions arise sorrow, arising from the threefold miseries, despair, restlessness of the body, and irregular breathing. So Patanjali now speaks of a set of secondary disturbances arising from the disturbances previously mentioned in the last sutra. So the first is dukkha. Dukkha is literally translated as unhappiness or great sadness or sorrow. But in Sanskrit it has a very interesting, if you look at the genesis of the word du and ka, which literally means like the constriction of a space. And it again references Ayurvedic understanding of things like the symptoms of unhappiness and when a person grieves or they're deeply unhappiness, how it literally causes like a constriction within the body, within the chest and things. But it is a very deep word. And Vyasa, in his commentary, presents that the three sources of all suffering and sorrow, which are frequently mentioned in the Vedas, are divided into these three categories, which are considered the three sources. The first one is called Adhyatmic, the second is Adhibodhic, and the third is Adhidevic. And what it is speaking of or referencing is the sadness or suffering which arises from my own body or mind. So that was one category of suffering or sorrow. Adhibodhic means the suffering that one experiences due to another living being. For instance, another person that is causing me tremendous unhappiness, or even an insect, mosquitoes biting me or giving me disease, a dog barking at me or chasing me. So this would be considered adhibodhika suffering. And the third was called adhidevic. Adhidevic references those natural things that are beyond our control: earthquakes, great storms, excessive heat or cold, floods, the type of natural disasters or natural difficulties that one may experience from material nature were within this category. So the second item, which is mentioned in this verse, is the dharmanasya, which is literally means despair or dejection. So this is this becomes manifest as a result of the previously spoken about disturbances. And this references the disturbance of the mind that arises when one's desires are obstructed, or when things that you desire, intentionally desire or wish for, when those things do not happen. It's kind of tied to a deeper Vedic understanding of different types of anxiousness. For instance, when one desires to get something, there is going to be this anxiety there. Am I going to succeed or not? Whether it's to enter into a relationship with someone, to acquire a position, to acquire a certain amount of money, to acquire an experience, whatever it is. While we're contemplating on it and desiring it, there will be an accompanying anxiety of maybe we're not going to be able to get it. Then when we acquire things that we set out to acquire, once we have them, we experience now a different type of anxiety. It is a fearfulness that I am going to lose that which I have, which really these anxieties really do permeate our life in so many ways. The third type of anxiousness comes from when something is already lost. Someone has left us, something has been stolen from us, we've lost something that a position or something that we thought was of value. And then we are overwhelmed with distress and thinking, if only I had have done this, if only something else was different. And so we can see that the way in which these great yogis and spiritualists analyzed the nature of material existence, it was quite extraordinary. The third disturbance mentioned here is called Angam Ijayatva. Angam literally means like a limb of the body, and it references or should be understood in English as being a restlessness of the body. So Vyasa here states that the upsetting of bodily equilibrium or steadiness results in a shakiness of the body. And so we see this like when a person is overwhelmed by intense anger or desire of some form. And it can quite often manifest as you see the face and you can see the limbs and the body sometimes trembling or shaking. We also see it in children if somebody's really upset about something or other and expressing their upsetness. Kids have this tendency to not be very socially aware or exercise control, and when they get overwhelmed by the experience, you'll see a shaking of the body manifest. Then the fourth item that was mentioned here was swasa prashvasa, which means irregular breathing. So Vyasa says that the ordinary process of taking in breath and exhaling is also associated with mental distraction, that these disturbances generally take place in a distracted state of mind. They do not appear in a reposeful mind. So what he's speaking of is referencing to panting or excessive inhaling or hissing type noises, which are usually made involuntarily when the mind and the body is overwhelmed by different types of external influence. We see this in our own life, perhaps, and in the world around us, and that as soon as a person becomes in a heightened state of anxiousness or anger, in a heightened emotional state where the mind is being deeply affected by something, there is a tendency towards a shallowness of breath. You're just breathing from the upper part of the lungs, or like hyperventilating, excessive inhaling like this, or a hissing type of sound that is made. So Vyasa states that while these manifestations accompany the 9 disturbances, that they do not in fact appear for the yogi whose mind is fixed. And so we'll be probably talking about this a little bit later on or further on. But there are many references, and right now I'm just thinking of some in the Bhagavad Gita in particular, where there is this constant reminder of the need to attain a state of equilibrium, where one is not affected or influenced by things that are going on around one, or things that may be even normally very disruptive in one's life. And of course, the reason that one needs to attain this state of equilibrium, it is actually a symptom of one having gained control of the mind. And rather than the mind being overwhelmed by emotion and just pulling a person in one direction or the other, whether those emotions are considered positive or negative. In some of the meditation and mindfulness classes that I do in the maximum security prison here in Auckland, one of the things I really try to teach people to really consider and to practice is that in a heightened state of emotion, one should not speak, one should not act, and one should not make a decision. You need to go and do some breathing, engage in some meditation or japa meditation, and you need to calm down. And you should not make a decision what you are going to do, how you are going to react to something, until you are in a perfectly calm state, a state of equilibrium. And then you can consider, how should I respond to this? What's actually in my real best interest, and what is in the best interest of the other person that I may be dealing with? And the necessity of doing that is, of course, paramount. And what is happening when you do that, rather than the mind controlling you, you are now utilizing the mind, bringing it under your control, calming it, and considering what is the appropriate way to move forward from here. So these are some of the great benefits that one derives. One who has increasing control of the mind is capable of making very brilliant decisions in their life. And those brilliant decisions, I'm referencing them as being brilliant simply because they produce desirable outcomes. Every time that you speak about something, every time that you act on something, there will be a consequence. And if it is our mind that is driving that, then we are not controlled. We're not in control of our life and the consequences. The process of yoga is a process of coming to lead an extremely meaningful life, a life of great purpose and of great focus. And in this state, one can attain actually the highest happiness. Thank you very much.